What's up guys, it's the Hunter Project here. Welcome to my channel where you'll find Monster Hunter news, builds, playthroughs and everything in between. Be sure to smash the like, subscribe buttons if you do enjoy. It is extremely appreciated as we make our way to 500 subscribers. Don't forget to join our Discord, link is at the top of the description, and without wasting any more time, let's get right into the video. Today I'm going to be bringing you a video on my experience of playing Monster Hunter Freedom Unite in 2021, and this was the first game that brought me into the series of Monster Hunter, so it was definitely a nostalgic trip when I booted up this game in the emulator for the PSP emulator. So be sure to comment down below where you guys started your Monster Hunter journey, and I look forward to seeing how our community's starting points differ. Monster Hunter Freedom Unite released in 2008, and it definitely shows. The story is a pretty simple one from the get-go. You're taken out by a Tigrex while exploring the snowy mountains, and then you wake up in Pokey Village. And then from there, you of course start to get yourself together and improve your gear to eventually face the monster once again. One of the things that I and most other hunters will probably notice when coming from a newer entry in the series are the hitboxes. So of course, due to the PSP's system limitations, the hitboxes are not as tightly knitted to the monster's model as you would hope, and this does get annoying, while also adding a questionable difficulty to the game due to the way it was made. Of course, this doesn't take away from the Monster Hunter experience too much, and playing through it again so far after release, it was quite easy to look past it and just enjoy the game for what it is, and it definitely is an extremely well made game. The hub world of this game is called Pokey Village, as I mentioned previously, and it is probably my favourite village of the bunch, which also has one of my favourite village themes in the entire franchise. It's a very close quarters village as well, with everything jumbled together in like a diagonal rectangle like design, and very easy to access, unlike World's base game hub, which I found personally quite annoying at times with how big they made it. And it did mean the NPCs were scattered around, so although it did feel really nice, like ooh, there was a massive environment to explore around for our hub world, there were times where I felt like I was trekking too far to get from one area to the other. Of course, you did have the little gondola that brought you up from different levels, but it wasn't the same feeling, like especially if I wanted to go from the farm straight to the armory, it was a bit of a trek. So I was really glad when Iceborne changed the area to be more clumped together, but in a neat way, not in a negative way. It just, all the NPC areas were more closer together rather than having them really spread out like the base game hub world was. So I'm glad they definitely fixed it for the expansion, but obviously that's coming off the point. Back onto Monster Hunter Freedom Unite, it has a ridiculous amount of content, with village and multiplayer quests being separate and G rank being added. It meant there were a lot of quests to complete and a good raise in difficulty as you progressed as well. I really enjoyed going back through forests and hills, snowy mountains and all the other maps in the game as well. I completed the tedious gathering quest and then finally onto my first Monster Slayer playthrough, and all of it was pretty fun. Hitboxes didn't get in my way too much. There were a few that felt like a bit off, but of course I did play this back in the day, so I do have a soft spot for it, so it wasn't too big of an issue for me. And then I did actually swap to another account, or a different save game that I found on the internet after getting through some of the quest tiers of the village, so then I can experience some of the end game content easily, and it definitely didn't disappoint me after all these years. Like, the end game of this Monster Hunter was fantastic, especially considering it was on the PSP. There was so much diversity of the monsters, which is what brings us on to our next point, the monster list. And in this game, it was extremely fun one. It had monsters ranging from the drones like Gaiadrome, Velocidrome and Gendrome, to Gravios, Nagakuga, Akantor and Rajang, to the elders like the Fatalis Trio, which was awesome. I love when they bring Fatalis in with all the subspecies, like Red Fatalis, White Fatalis. And then we also had monsters like Koshala Deora and a really forgotten monster, Yamasukami. And it's definitely a monster that is yet to return to the mainline series, so hopefully they do surprise us sometime soon, whether that's as a monster in the base game of Rise, a DLC, or even in the second installment of whatever the world sequel is going to be, or whatever the next console line is going to be. I think Nagakuga acts as a fantastic flagship as well. with it being a very unique fight, especially when it was first introduced, being extremely agile, which of course added to its offensive capabilities. As for the weapons, the majority are all here, excluding the weapons from 3rd gen onwards that were added in new. And obviously that includes the switch axe, charge blade and the insect glaive. They are all fun to use, although I think the controls for the guns and the bow are a bit outdated coming from the way they handled them in World and Rise. But for the PSP, they definitely did pretty well with how they mapped out the controls. We obviously do have very little combos in the game compared to the newer entries, which of course added on extra combos as they went along. But it doesn't take too much away from the gameplay. It was still really enjoyable to go back to, and it still has a very satisfying combat system as you would expect from a Monster Hunter, and it felt great cutting off tails and breaking horns. They also had a really unique aspect of Generation 2, which was the training school. So this was basically a training area to learn the weapons and game overall, while having a arena-like mode based in the Great Arena, and some involving the normal maps of the game, where you would be able to basically test your ability of using a specific set to defeat a monster, and you would have got awards correlating to this area of the game as well. And you basically had to collect these awards throughout the game, like completing the village quest, completing the gathering hall quests and so on. There was various awards you could collect, and it was a pretty cool system. It was like pretty much an achievement system, you could say, but back on the PSP specifically for Monster Hunter Freedom Unite. But it was a really cool area. But of course now we do have the training grounds where you could just test your weapon anyways. But I think this was definitely a fun way of testing your weapon on a monster that's actually attacking you back as it would in an actual battle. But then once again you could argue we have the arena mode, so I can't really see them bringing this back, as they have innovated in a different way with the same concept. So regardless, it was a really cool thing for Monster Hunter Freedom Unite to have. And overall, I definitely enjoyed my time revisiting this game. It has a very fun combat system, as with all the games of this series, with a fantastic monster list as well. I think Capcom did an amazing job with capturing the essence of Pokey Village and the setting of the game, considering the system they were working with. And for anyone who is a fan of the Monster Hunter series and wants to experience Generation 1 or 2, this game is definitely the definitive version of those, with many of the older Generation 1 maps being incorporated into Unite's endgame. So, as I said before, this game does have a ridiculous amount of content, and as long as you're able to learn the older hitboxes, it will not disappoint you. That does bring us to the end of the video, guys. If you did enjoy, be sure to smash the like and subscribe buttons. It is extremely appreciated as we make our way to 500 subscribers. Don't forget to join our Discord, link is at the top of the description. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.